Hey guys, it's Troy Dooley, the Beachside CEO, and I happen to be doing this live for the news this weekend, literally. And where are we at? We're on the Savannah River at the Marriott. Just a beautiful location. We've come here so many times. Usually we hang out at the over at Tybee Island. This time we're just passing through as we go up and watch our oldest. Her birthday's tomorrow. Have our first grandson. This is her first baby. So it's the first grandson, first baby at all that she's given us. So we're kind of stoked. We're kind of excited. My camera's wobbly because I'm just hanging out here in the atrium overlooking the river. You know, it's amazing. I'm gonna rabbit trail for a minute. But we talk about the American economy. We talk about global economy. We talk about everything that's going on. If you've never been around a major trade river like the Mississippi River, the Savannah River, I think it is, here in Savannah, it's amazing. When you see these big barges come through with just, I don't know, man, I bet there's got to be thousands of 18-wheeler sized containers just full of grain and products and all this stuff that's coming in and out of here. And then you study the history of American commerce here in America. It just blows my mind. I mean, it's fun to see these guys working. It's fun to watch these tugboats. Here's this little bitty tugboat that's controlling this giant, massive ship, basically. And I just get stoked, man. It is so fun to watch this stuff taking place. But I want to welcome our sponsors first. The Social Selling Network. It's a great, phenomenal network. Jim Lumpkin is the director, the executive director over there. A great board of directors, great initiatives they have for helping home-based entrepreneurs that utilize social selling in their business model to kick it up a notch. Excited about this association. I was just asked to be on their board of directors. Let me disclose that. So it's just going to be a fun thing. It's exciting to see where history moves into the future. And that's how this association is. We'll get into more of that when we interview Jim down the road sometime. The Direct Selling Edge Conference coming up in October. You can go to dsedge.com. I'll be speaking at that event. It's a powerful event. If you're a distributor, if you're a company owner, if you're someone that's interested in learning more about the direct selling industry from the legal side, the FDA side, from what type of compensation plans, what type of product mix, building the culture, anything like that, you probably ought to check that out, especially if you feel like your company's plateaued or you're a startup. I think it'll be a good time for you guys to check that out, see what's going on. And another shout out, I've got to give a shout out to Corey Augustine over at the MLM Insider. You can go to MLMinsider.com, I think is what it is. You can check it out. I tell you what, that boy is like the modern day Rod Cook and Lynn Clements all combined. I mean, he is covering anything and everything that has to do with the direct selling industry. And he has teamed up with some really cool guys over there that are helping him out. Robert Butwin, I think, is now working with him over there a little bit. I know that one of the big software companies has come in to help him get that thing up and going. And I tell you, he's got pros and cons. He's one of the few guys, I think, left in the profession, if you will, who he doesn't care if he steps on your toes, if he cuts your toes off. I mean, his focus is getting information out to the masses so that you guys can make informed decisions in the companies that you're in, what you're doing. I want to pop on something real quick. The crypto, I've gotten a lot of comments, not comments, a lot of inquiries from people asking about the crypto economy, the new digital economy with Forex and crypto, coins, gold, all this stuff. What is it that they should be looking for in these companies that they see launching? That's a road that is just rocky as all get out. It has holes all in it, potholes you've got to watch out for. Here's a few things you can look for. If a company is asking you to give them your BTC to trade, giving you your control of your accounts to trade for you, stay away from it. Not a company that you want. There's some great companies out there, Uphold, Coinbase, Polynex. These are US-based companies. These are companies where you can go in. They have a good knowledge base there, so you're going to learn a little bit. There's a lot of free resources out there. There's some educational-based companies that are out there. There's some great books that you can go buy that gives you the basic understanding of what's going on. But you don't just want to jump in where a company says, give us control. When it comes to the AI stuff that's available now for artificial intelligence, there's some really good programs that looks like that's given some really, really good returns. But again, I would caution you, if you can't download that software, control your accounts all by yourself, nobody else has access to it, then you want to stay away from it unless you can prove that the company happens to be licensed correctly with the CFTC or with the SEC. Let me use a company that's not affiliated with anybody. E-Trade is an example. You can go to E-Trade when you up your membership over there. There's certain artificial intelligences that you can tap into, certain stuff there. There's a couple other companies like that. Man, just don't jump in because everybody else is doing it. Focus a little bit. Make sure you're doing this stuff right. You definitely need an education. I'm seeing right now where the Gen X and the baby boomers are saying, hey, we want to learn more information. And honestly, because I'm one of these, I think it's so that they can actually communicate better with their children. That Gen Y, Gen Z, whatever we call it nowadays, they really are. Those millennials, man, they're into this cryptocurrency stuff. They're into Forex. And if you don't know what you're talking about, it's kind of hard to understand it. I'll use an example. I've got a power couple that are dear friends of mine that have taught me a lot about Forex. And when she first started talking about naked trading, I had no clue. I mean, my eyes got big. I had no clue what she was talking about. And she had to literally go through and start explaining it. Now that's a little humorous to say the least, but the focus is when you don't know something and you hear a term, you have no clue. So get your education when it comes to the new digital economy side of things. Hey, I want to talk about labels for a second. Some of you guys in the field may not like this. Grab a cup of coffee if you want to. But labels are very important. One of the things that we're seeing, matter of fact, I was talking to one of the foremost compliance experts on this situation because we'd had a client that had the customs in Canada stop some product going in. And we didn't understand why. There was no ingredient in there that should have been any problem whatsoever. And here's what we learned. If you use the term full spectrum on your products, on your labels, on your marketing, and customs see that in certain countries, they will automatically flag that product, assuming, it's an assumption, that when you use full spectrum, you're talking about some type of cannabis product. That is not true at all. If you look up the definition of full spectrum, it works for across the board. But because we're in a culture right now where cannabis seems to be the biggest push, and you've got US and Canadian regulators really digging in and redoing all the regulations, customs just stops products like that. Australia may do the same thing, so you need to be careful there. And I bring that up because I think it's important. It's important that you know what's on the labels of your product. You know, if you guys are out there promoting a product because you're told that it has an active ingredient that is the number one ingredient that's going to change everybody's lives, et cetera, et cetera. Well, if you look at that label and the power ingredient that you're marketing happens to be number 2, 3, or 4, then the number one ingredient that's in your product is what's listed number 1, because that's the way you're supposed to list it on the product. And if you don't list it that way, that's a problem. Here's another thing, and this goes for you company owners. Just because you get your product from a third-party manufacturer and they've given you the report to show you what's in that product, I would suggest that you go to a third-party lab and have certain lots of your products tested. What we're finding right now is there's some ingredients being left out. Worse, there's some ingredients being put in. If it's not correct on the label and somebody else tests that, somebody gets sick, somebody dies, Lord help us, guess what? It's your label. You're the one that's going to be responsible. If you're a rep in the field and you're the one that sold that product to the individual, sadly, you could get called into it too. You might want to check with your homeowner's policy. See if you're covered for running a home. If you don't have errors and admissions insurance or a small business policy, you might want to look into that, because as I segue into our next little deal, you definitely are an independent contractor. Matter of fact, you guys get out some pen and paper. This is important that you write this down. There's been a strong debate lately going on about, I won't even say lately. I mean, I was a founding member of the Distributors' Rights Association, almost 2 decades ago now. So, you look at this and you say, well, this debate, this argument's been going on, and it has. But in 1986, the Tax Reform Act clarified under President Reagan that direct sellers and real estate agents, qualified real estate agents, they actually define this, are classified non-employee. Okay, you're not an employee, you're a statutory, non-statutory employee is what this is called. This means that the company still has certain control over what you do, but you're taxed as an independent contractor. You're taxed as if you're a sole proprietor, an LLC, an S Corp, whatever it is that you contract with that company with, they still have the control. Now, here's what I want you to do. You need to go. You can do a Google search and pull this up. We might. Since I'm on the road, I may not get the links up here, but you need to pull a Google search for Publication E, called the Circular E deal. It's Publication 15 Circular E. I got that wrong. Publication 15 Circular E. This governs employees. So you're going to be able to look at that and understand, this is how the company does what they do. This is how I'm to look at this. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. This kind of eliminates, if you want to know the truth, it eliminates all the griping and moaning that we do about our rights. We don't have any rights. If you're a rep in a company, you're a non-statutory employee, taxed as an independent contractor, governed by the policies and procedures in which you have signed. If you have a separate agreement that you have gone to with the company. I'm trying to think of a good friend of mine that may no longer be active in the business that might, as an example, Coleman Orr. Coleman Orr was a dear friend of mine, youngest diamond in the history of Amway, a mentor. Sadly lost him a few years ago. When he took his team from Amway over to World Marketing Alliance, okay, he had a separate agreement in place that made it very clear, this is my database. If I ever leave the company, if you guys do anything, all the people that I brought originally, I can talk to and take with me to go somewhere else, which he did. He later launched his own company, did his own thing. If you don't have anything like that in place, then you're governed by the policies and procedures. You're governed by the precedent that has been set in some court law that's out there. I'm not a tax preparer. I'm not an attorney. I don't do that stuff. I just know enough about it to tell you, if you've got questions, go talk to an attorney, go talk to your CPA, but I'm giving you some general facts here that's going to help you out. The second publication that you need to get, this should be part of your Bible, if you will, when it comes to direct sales. And this is called Publication 911 Direct Sales. This governs the tax side, the IRS side of what you as a direct seller can and can't do. It defines the whole industry of direct selling from the direct seller's point. Your company isn't classified as this direct seller. Now they can be under an SIC code. They can say we're a direct selling company. It's a totally different gig, totally different deal. This is for you. This is for you to determine, okay, what can I do? What can I deduct on my taxes? What is the other stuff that I'm supposed to do? How should I act as a direct seller? What do I need to keep records of for the IRS? This is very important, guys, because we don't talk about this stuff. So when we were doing some due diligence in a separate situation, a separate case, I've got trial coming up here in a few weeks where I'm an expert witness and I needed some additional information. We said, whoa, wait a minute. All this stuff needs to be brought out to the general public. You guys need to spread the message, spread this video, whatever you want to do. I don't care. You just need to understand it. If you're a team leader, I would suggest that you get the publications publication 15 circular E, and that you get publication 911 direct sellers, and you get that into the hands of your organizations so that you fully understand what's happening, what's going on, okay? Last but not least, well, it may not be last. You guys know I like to rabbit trail on these things. Scams. How can you recognize a potential scam? And this last week, I've had conversations with Kevin Thompson. You guys might have seen our live on this. I've talked with Corey Augustine. I've been on the phone with Mel Atwood on this. What is a scam? And as we've dug into this, there are certain characteristics, if you will, that can really help define a blatant, flaming, freaking scam. Okay, there are times when we all know regulators, in my opinion, have overreached the Herbalife, the Vima. I think to some degree they probably overreached in the Fortune High Tech and the Burn Lounge situation. I think those could have been corrected with some help. I have no clue what's going on at Advocare. We don't know that yet, can't tell you. But when I look at some of these, it's obvious that the founders of the company, the executives that they have, the legal teams that they use, the CPAs, all that stuff, it's very clear. Look, their intent was not to run some scam on somebody. It wasn't to run a Ponzi scheme or a pyramid. But then there are times, and history's proven this out, AdSurf Daily, I'm going to go back to just the 21st century here. AdSurf Daily, major scam, warning signs all over it, okay? They brought in what seemed like, no, I won't say that. They brought in competent legal counsel, but even at that time, the legal counsel and the company, I mean, you could tell there were some glitches there. They were stretching outside of the norm, outside of the box. Zeke Rewards, another one that we can look at. Telex Free, now the most current OneCoin. Okay, there's certain characteristics that these types of companies have. And here's what I want you to keep track of this. If you look at a company, if somebody tells you about a company and all you have to do is give them your username and an email address, okay, that's a warning sign. Okay, now they could be in a pre-launch situation and that's all they want right now. It could be a situation where the company has said, look, you're all going to come in as a customer until you earn $600. We're not going to ask you for your social security number and all the additional information. Very well could be. However, if that's the case, then as soon as you've earned the $600, they're going to want you to upgrade and become an affiliate. They're going to want you to pay a price. They're going to want you to fill out a W-9 or a W-8 BIN or one of these other foreign documents from the IRS. There's going to be some additional security put into the back office for KYC and ALM, AML, anti-money laundering stuff. All that stuff's going to be over there. KYC means know your customer. These are things both in the U.S. under some Hague treaties and stuff that have to be done. So they would be there. If it's not there, warning sign number one. Warning sign number two is if they allow you to sign up multiple accounts. Okay, if you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 50, 100, 150, that's a warning sign right there. That's, first of all, that's the sign of a pyramid being created. Okay, that's a sign of manipulating the compensation plan. Could definitely be a pyramid or a Ponzi scheme situation because new money's going to be rolling in to pay off the old investors. These are warning signs. So that's warning sign number two. We've seen this, history has repeated itself on this. That's the first thing regulators want to look at is what is the actual genealogy tree look like? Now, there's a couple of other characteristics that we have seen inside of specific Ponzi's and pyramid schemes. The two most prevalent types of compensation structure is a force matrix and a binary. Now, I want to be very clear here. That does not mean a company is a pyramid or a Ponzi scheme. But what happens is it means that the structures of those compensation plans are utilized worldwide. They can be used in China, they can be used in Africa, they can be used in Europe. And it's very easy for people to look at the math, figure out what they need to do, and scam a company. So, there are some legit companies that have used these plans, and they've still gotten hurt. Matter of fact, a client of mine started out with a forced matrix type situation, and gone, boom, bam. Just didn't work, put them out of business. They didn't realize it. Had another company that was using the binary. We talked about artificial intelligence in the past. A lot of these guys are using algorithms to understand how to manipulate the comp plan. That can hurt you and hurt you bad. Okay, so you want to watch that. So your big three on scams is if they're not asking you for some specific information, not verifying that information up front, number one. Number two is if they allow all the stacking in the compensation plan, where you've got all these, or on the tree rather, where you've got all of these different accounts and you can manipulate the compensation plan. That's a scam. Okay, or could be a scam. Let me clarify that. Number three is once you've hit the pinnacle of $600, and I'm focusing this in the U.S. on that aspect of things, because even if you're a foreign corporation running an organization, if you're not requesting certain things from U.S. citizens, you can be classified as scam. Okay, that's it. Number four, this is a big one to me. If you've got a company that tells you we're legal, we've got the best attorneys, we can do business in your country, we're ready to rock and roll, and you cannot find anywhere in the United States where they have set up a foreign corporation in a specific state, in some cases where they've registered with the regulators on a federal level. If you can't find any of this stuff, potentially that's a scam. Okay, and number five, if they're in the United States and they have no office, or you find out that their office is just a P.O. box, or it's one of those executive offices, and that's all they have, and they never have anybody in the office, nobody's ever there, you can find no infrastructure in any way, shape, or form, then that's a potential risk factor. If you find out, okay, I feel better, they have one of these offices, Troy, but when I went in there at different times, or other people have seen them at different times, they're there all the time. That's just their temporary offices. They grow. A lot of guys now will start this way, and I'm all for it. Matter of fact, in Destin, Paige and I have thought about opening up a shared office space for this specific reason. So there's nothing wrong with that. But if they're never there, if all they do is collect their mail, that's an issue. Or if all of a sudden they've shut their offices down and now you cannot locate them in any way, shape, and form, that's a potential. Regulators look at this stuff. Matter of fact, that's some of the questions they look at. So I'm giving you a high level, but these are red flags for you. I'm not telling you that the company is a scam. I'm telling you to be careful and to make sure that you're understanding the whole business model. Here's the last, number 6, and this is very important. Just because there's a website with a guy's picture on it and a story on it about how great he is. My name is Bojangles, and I've been in the internet business now since its inception. Matter of fact, some might say I helped create the internet, and you see all this story on there, and man, you're thinking, dude, this guy's great. This website looks like it's owned by a Fortune 100 company. I'm giving them my money. Well, you need to do your own due diligence. Make sure the guy's name's real. Make sure his picture actually lines up, or her picture lines up with the name. We've seen this over and over. People will create personas. They'll create backstory. They may have backlinks going to articles that have been created for them that makes it look like they're the smartest dude under the sun. Do deep due diligence. We literally have an investigative team, and this is what we do. When I go into a trial, we investigate and do backgrounds on even the attorneys that are opposing attorneys to make sure we understand who are we dealing with, who are these people. You should do the same thing when you're giving them your money. Okay, especially in the new digital economy. I know a lot of you guys do business in crypto. If you're giving somebody your crypto address and they're taking your BTC and you think there's something you can do legally about it, you need to think again, because isn't that the total reason a lot of you guys get into the crypto business is because it's decentralized, there's no trace, There's actually a forensic trail. You can trail it. Ask the FBI. They own, I think, 250,000 crypto. So there's a way to do that too. But the concept behind it is you're protecting your identity. It's all anonymous. Okay, so when you're looking at companies and this is how they're doing business, then please take your time to do the due diligence. If you want to roll the dice at your risk, you decide this is where you're going with it, so be it. I am not your judge, jury. I'm not the one that's going to tell you, hey, do it or don't do it. Here's what I'm telling you. When something goes wrong and you come yelling and saying, Troy, can you believe this? Corey, can you believe this? Mel Atwood, can you believe this? Yeah, we can believe this. And if you think regulators are going to do much for you, probably not. Matter of fact, I'm going to let you guys go after this, but this is the big one right here. If you've been in a company that is a Ponzi or a pyramid scheme, and it has these characteristics, and you guys run to the regulators and you file your complaints and you say, oh my gosh, this is awful. This company took my money. This company lied to me. I brought a lot of people in who trusted me, and I can't believe now none of us can get our money back. We're thinking about a class action suit, all of that stuff. If the regulators decide to look into the situation and they deem that, you know what, this is bad enough that we're going to open an investigation, they're going to scour the internet. And if you were a promoter in Zeke Rewards, and I think Telex Free's case, I know Zeke Rewards for sure, they went all the way down to people who had earned $1,000 in profits over what they put into the company. They will come after you too. They don't care that you just wrote a complaint. You're not covered by whistleblower laws at that time. So if you're going to file a complaint, make sure you have competent legal attorney to help you do that. Don't just try to do it on your own, because that can backfire and you become part of the case too. And a lot of people don't realize that. We want you guys to realize that. You need to hold people accountable. You need to be able to tell regulators when you see this stuff. But you also need to have competent legal representation. If they can cover you under the whistleblower law, they're probably not going to charge you a lot of money up front, because they're going to get part of that on the contingency plan. But do make sure you're protecting yourself too, because if you're like most people, you've spent all the money. You bought a new house, you bought a new car, you put your girl through education. You don't have the cash when the regulators come hunting you. So then you got to try to figure out something, and you don't need the reputational risk, all this stuff in the newspapers. It's just crazy. Guys, that covers it for this week. I wanted to hit some important stuff. Please go download Publication 15, the Circular E, download Publication 911, Direct Sales. Educate yourself in the business that you're in. You guys should always be students of what you're doing, not just your company, not just your products, but the actual community in which you're doing business. Guys, have an awesome weekend. I'm going to go find the family, have some breakfast, and then go get ready to have a brand new grandson. And you better believe we'll be putting some pictures up as soon as that happens. Live life like it's an epic adventure. Stay dangerous, stay strong. And if you're, how do we want to put this? If you're in a home-based business, a gig economy, side hustle, whatever you call it, act like it. We'll see you next week.